Hello and welcome to Blythe Business News. Today we're welcoming back Tim Livesey. Tim is Chief Executive of Oriole Resources, listed on AIM with a ticker of ORR and a market capitalisation of around £3.4 million sterling. A very exciting gold exploration company. Tim, welcome back. You've just released the results of Phase 4 drilling now at the Bibemi Gold Project. What was the object of the programme? And what are the results told you about the deposit?
Hi, Tim. It's good to be here. The program was targeted at primarily testing something that had come out from some structural interpretation we'd done. Up until now, phases 1 to 3. Phase 1 was just a prospecting, general prospecting on the license, and then we homed in on the Bekasi Zone 1, which is one of 4 target areas. With phases 2 and 3, but we were targeting subvertical vein sets associated with shear zones that are trending through the area. And we'd done quite a lot of structural interpretation downhole and on surface, and we'd identified some sub-horizontal vein sets. And the latest phase of drilling was essentially vertical hole at Bekasi Zone 1 to test these sub-horizontal vein sets. Obviously, if they carry gold, then there's the opportunity to tie sub-horizontal and sub-vertical together into effectively a lattice work. And that gives us a great potential for expanding the volumes of the mineralization, if we had success on that, which we did.
Well, I was going to ask you, you used the words lattice work, and for those of us who are not experienced exploration geologists as you are, what is the impact of the vertical hole and then the sub-horizontal mineralized trend?
So the vertical hole, the angled holes we drilled previously, effectively were drilling in between the sub-horizontal vein sets. So they weren't catching them, and they weren't giving us a true picture of the mineralization. The vertical hole has intersected a number of significant grading widths, 4 meters, 5 meters, nearly 10 meters, 7 meters, 7.7, nearly 10 meters, and then ultimately nearly 15 meters at over 4 grams. So we've intersected with that vertical hole a number of these stacked horizontal vein sets associated with the subvertical one. So effectively, we had a plane like this that's carrying gold, and we've now identified several planes like this tied to it. Now, these are classical extensional structures. These are what we expected to see when we interpreted the structure of the area, but we hadn't drilled any vertical holes before, so we hadn't had any proof of this. So we've now proven it. So effectively, if you imagine a series of veins sitting like this, with the gold associated with that, if you fill in the spaces in between those veins with additional veins at a different angle, you end up with a boxwork or a lattice of mineralization. And as you'll see from the results from hole number 50 today, that volume increases significantly. The longest intercept, 14.6, 14.7 meters at 4.27 grams. So this is all of a sudden giving us wide intersections, which are typically hopefully going to lead us toward bigger volumes and steps towards the next phase of the project.
Well, I was going to ask you, Tim. So you're building this lattice, this understanding of what's under the ground there. And as you go on now, what will that do? What impact is this going to have on possibly the development of a resource at the Bekasi Zone 1?
Well, ideally, this gives us the opportunity now to start compositing down hole. It's given us the confidence to composite the results together, and also it takes us towards the next sort of step of exploration to put together and design a program which will give us this type of information across the whole of Zone 1. And if you think about it from a resource point of view, if you're trying to pull together a resource on narrow high-grade veins, that takes you in one direction for mining technique, you know, and so on and so forth. If you think of this as more of a bulk mineable volume, typical sort of open pittable type volumes, or perhaps sub-level stoped, you know, large underground stopes, all of a sudden your volume increase gives you the opportunity to put a much bigger resource together effectively. So this will hopefully give us, you know, with some further work, it'll give us confidence to put together a resource which will ultimately carry a lot more contained gold than we would have got if we just concentrated on those and we'd only known about those narrow sub-vertical veins.
Okay, let's just put this into context, because this is, you've got the central license package in Cameroon, and the central license package is what? The size of Greater London, essentially. It's an enormous area, it's huge. What are the implications, if any, for the other licenses, especially that central license package?
Well, the key thing with Bibemi, all along, Bibemi for us has been a testing ground, because with the exploration there has been more advanced. It's the most advanced exploration license we have in Cameroon. It's been a testing ground for techniques which we could, and theories which we hope we could transfer back down into the central license package. We've tested our geochemistry, our soil sampling, our geophysical surveys, our ground bank surveys, and so on, structural interpretation. And we've refined our technique at Bibemi, where we know there's gold mineralization. And obviously, as we advance the exploration on the central licenses package, we can then apply what we learned from Bibemi to the central license targets. Now, we already have a number of targets identified at the central license package. You know, it's more of a district scale play than Bibemi is. But this means we can therefore be much more efficient in our exploration at the central licenses, and shorten the timeline from finding some interesting gold in soils anomaly, you know, an anomalously high level of gold in soils sounds great, but we need to progress that right through to a drill target, target. And if we can condense that timeline, make it more efficient, it's obviously more cost effective, and it gives us the results faster. So everything we learn at Bibemi, we can transfer down and apply at the central license package.
Okay, thanks for that update. Before I let you go, what should we be looking out for the rest of the year in terms of news flow and potential highlights?
Well, we're coming into the dry season early October, so this is the time we normally get back into the field. So obviously we'll be following up on the work we've done at Bibemi. We'll be refining our structural model there, trying to understand where best to put the next phases of work on the Bakassi zone and on the other three prospects. We do still have three other target areas which we've only done sort of prospect drilling level work on the Bibemi license. So a lot to do there. The central license package, we've over the summer we've been working on interpretation of the geophysical data from Bibemi. So the geophysical team, the guys who physically collect that data, they've refined all their sort of working protocols. We'll be getting those guys hopefully out into the central licenses, start working up some geophysical targets, and continued mapping, continued sampling, and ultimately what we intend to do over the next season between now and sort of this time next year is progress the central license targets that we have up to a stage where we are drill testing them and able to add some you know, pierce point intersections on those. We've also looked at expanding our license package a little bit. We've got some licenses in application. They're showing up on the cadastre system under application, and so we'll be expanding our focus on those, and we'll bring news on those to the market as well as we go forward through the rest of the year.
Thanks, Tim. You must come back and keep us updated. Who knows? Next time we see you, you might be in the field in Cameroon. That was Tim Livesey, Chief Executive of Oriole Resources, updating us on progress in his gold exploration activities in Cameroon. That's it for Livesey Business News for this edition. Thanks for watching.